What's good, y'all? You dub back here again here in 2019. It's interesting how sometimes you have plans of doing something and you're like, I'll give that some time. And then other people like, yo, about those plans that you had formerly made. So I had thought about doing different power systems competing against each other. And I was like, man, but that takes a lot of thought and whatever. Like, I'm gonna let that thought drift off to my mind. And some subscribers, some subs were like, "Yo, wonder these power tournaments are cool and all, but could we get some individual powers based, like hockey, nan, and that?" I'm like, I was gonna do those, but then I didn't, and yeah, we can do that. So here we are, Haki versus Key. Let's see who comes out supreme with their abilities. Now, for those who are not heavily into One Piece, don't worry. I shall explain what Haki is. And most of you pretty much have watched Dragon Ball, so you know how Ki works. Well, Kira Toriyama doesn't really tell us jack in the series, but, one of my biggest complaints with Dragon Ball, but what else is new? We still got enough info to figure things out. As far as Haki, what is Haki? Haki is, in general, willpower. All right, it's a spiritual kind of thing. Now there are three types of Haki. There's observation Haki and armaments Haki, as well as conquerors Haki. Now I'll get into those in a bit. Understand that with Haki, every living creature, that's right. You talk about humans, you talk about any kind of wildlife, trees as well, if we're talking living creatures. Any type of living creature has Haki. Now, we haven't seen trees and whatever. We have seen like it was filler, but it still makes sense. The Kung Fu Dugong using Haki. All right, Haki is willpower. How to put this? They're the main two types of Haki that anyone can tap into are observation Haki and armaments Haki. Conqueror's Haki is like it's either 1 in a million or 1 in 10 million. I always forget. I believe it's 1 in a million. Okay. Regardless, it's a disposition of the king. Observation or king conquers king's Haki. Okay. Observation Haki deals, and this is a lot of people misconstrues because they're like, why is anyone ever getting caught off guard? Because observation Haki enhances your perception. If we've seen different examples of this. Okay, we've seen some even more advanced examples. We've seen some pretty basic ones. Now, the pretty basic ones allows for um, a wide range of sense. Like we've seen Sanji and Nami's body be able to detect Kinemon's split half body a while away. We've seen him sense Tashigi's falling tears and Blitz over there. We've seen something like Usopp doing a rare, like, kind of infrared scene over a mile long. We've seen Anal enhance his lightning devil fruit to where he could hear people from an entire island away. We've seen Katakuri with advanced future sight, where he literally saw the exact future a few seconds ahead. We've seen Luffy do a variation of that, gets a sense of the person's intent on movement. Okay, we've seen observation Haki where Sanji's had enhanced smell. We've seen it to where Fujitora has got auras all around him and felt the emotions of plenty of people around him. We've seen potentially Von Augur might have just been his eyesight, but we saw him like a mile away shoot down a bird. Okay, we've had other observation. We had Zoro early on in Alabasta be able to hear the rhythm breath of all things or something like that to where he knew exactly how to cut something. We've seen Luffy guess where Mr. 3 was. We've seen all kind of feats with observation Haki. Okay. We also seen to where Observation Haki can be overcome because it's a matter of perception. If you're able to move fast enough, if you're able, your presence isn't sensed because of lack of intent. If you're able, again, moving fast enough to where even Katakuri's future sight was ineffective to a degree. A bunch of things are differing in a way that it couldn't be read. Like mindless Luffy, he didn't have intent. So there were ways around it. Armaments Haki is like spiritual armor, invisible armor. Um, and we've seen a few different versions. We've seen Sanji and others use like this basic armaments Haki where they hockeyed up, but we couldn't. It was nothing special. We know that the Kuja pirates put armaments Haki on their arrows and such. Now we've seen a few more advanced type versions. We have hardening Haki, which we've seen it a bunch in the New World. We've seen it with Bellamy and Luffy. Um, just on the fist, Big Mam's done it. A lot of folks have done it, right? So you just harden it up in a more condensed, people say vulcanized state, in a more like typical armor. Now we've seen Block Mochi, which is an even more from Charlotte Katakuri, which is an even in much denser form of it that hits harder and blocks harder than the traditional hardening Haki. Okay, we've also seen more advanced technique, which we're learning more about in Wano, to where we've seen it with Dark King Silver's Rayleigh. It's like an invisible force field projecting away. One of the Boa sisters was able to do. I think it was Sandra Sonia was able to do. We've seen it with the three admirals during Marineford when they blocked. Believe it was believe it was the Quake, one of the Quake punches, or was it? Don't believe it was the tidal wave. I believe it was one of the Quake punches from Newgate, from Whitebeard Edward Newgate. We've also seen from Centimaro do some like kind of sumo techniques to where he extends his palm and we get Haki out of there. And so it has that highly defensive capacity as well as an offensive enhancement capacity. And for Conqueror's Haki, okay, for the special few that haven't, you can showcase dominance, dominating willpower on the weak willed. We've mainly seen it knock out fodder. Now, I guarantee you it can do more. We've seen it affect with Shanks. We've seen it begin to destroy the Moby Dick a little bit. We've seen it split the sky. I can't wait to see what more it can do. Um, we've seen it affect the atmosphere a few times. Goldie Roger, we saw Candlelight go out. We've seen and then flicker back on. We've seen Shanks when he had a nasty day, like he wasn't in a good mood. When Mihawk showed up to the island he was at, the skies were darkened, and then when his disposition cleared up, the skies lightened up. So we've seen all kind of things. I think we've seen Congress Haki feats from Dragon multiple times, but that's a whole other topic of discussion. Now, as far as in ki, there's really three types of ki from what we can gather. There's ki in the universe itself. We saw this with Son Goku when he was gathering ki from the planets and all that was out there in the cosmos nearby. When he did the spirit bomb back on Namek, we seen that there's an individual's ki, and then we see the ki that's your actual life force itself. Um, so kind of spiritual thing there, and as well as a physical thing. Okay, and so there's a natural ki, a spiritual ki, and a physical ki with the person. Now we've seen ki be used to heal. We've seen ki be used at times to bolster someone's mental state. We've seen ki be used to gather up for special techniques, for example, with the spirit bomb. Uh, we've seen ki you given from other people in order to boast up a single individual's power. Um, we've seen ki-eyed in raising up of power levels, battle power. Okay, We seen Key be very defensive when Jiren, for example, stopped the Super Cop dude. I always forget if it's from Universe 3 or 4, but regardless, he was able to just shut that shit down. Um, and from just a far away, we seen him do an attack similar with, just a look and a key move to where he was able to push away the massive spear bomb during the tournament of power that Son Goku was throwing at him. Okay. Um, we seen when Key be able to, for one, to be able to fly, all kinds of energy based techniques. You get it. So Key, it's interesting. We have two, in some ways similar, but in very ways different power systems. It's the basics of it. I'm guaranteed there's more details that one can get into, but y'all mainly get the gist of it. Now, you're probably wondering which is actually the better. Now, I'm going to use the same criteria I use for my my power tournaments to make things very simple for myself. All right, and for not to make this video run too damn long. Three things: number one, versatility; number two, ease of usage and mastery; and number three, effectiveness. Oh, one thing I will also say, I kind of alluded to armament Haki, was we seen it be able to use on all kinds of weapons. We've seen it bullets, swords, a lot, arrows. Pretty much, we've seen World in the 3D2Y special use it on a nutshell. So you can transfer Haki onto pretty much anything. We've seen bamboo stick with Vice Admiral Vergo as well. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, versatility. Versatility has to go to Haki. Has to go to Haki. When you see Key mainly using Dragon Ball, more versatility comes from Magic, and yes, Magic is used in Dragon Ball. People tend to forget that. Key is pretty much energy for attack and defense, but a lot of times just check. It's pretty straightforward. For example, you can use it like in Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. Son Goku kind of did like this kind of judo hold. People describe it to where he kind of, and Son Goku was able to hold Broly in place for a little bit. We've seen Frieza do telekinetic type attacks. We've seen Kias where it just knocked folks out. We've seen that. We've seen pretty much heat punches from Jiren. We've seen all kinds of stuff. So we have seen some range techniques, but a lot of times they go in hand to hand combat and such. Okay. Now, as far as in Haki perception, we see that way more than we do the perceptive abilities via Ki from the fighters. A lot of times with the fighters, they either gotta physically see it, they rely too much on sense of Ki. They there's too much of reliance. Observation Haki, your observation is enhanced in a whole different kind of way. Okay. It may do somewhat similar in certain ways, but it goes above and beyond. As far as the offense and defense of capacity, you see it much more capable with in a wide variety of ways than you do with Key. For example, we've never really seen Key full blown enhance a blade. Okay, we've never seen it transferred really to a weapon. Okay, we've seen that with Haki, so there's that versatility, and Ki doesn't really have. I mean, there's different battle powers, but Ki doesn't have anything close to Conqueror's Haki in that realm and regard. So versatility goes to, and I could go more in depth, but it's not necessary. Versatility goes to Haki. When it comes to ease of usage and mastery, I want to say Ki actually. Because we see all these aliens use it. Yes, we don't see a lot of humans use it, but then again, a lot of humans aren't in the combat. We see all these people throughout the multiverse be using Ki a lot. Okay, so there is that key. Like I said, and here's where the versatility comes to effective ease of usage and mastery. We also see some, just because somebody's older doesn't mean they're a better use of hockey. It's a very individual learned thing, and also there's different paths an individual can go learning. Some people can be more skilled in one area, and some people be more skilled in another. So it just depends, and that alone gives the edge to key. There's baseline general stuff, and from that, it's just the individual amping his power. There you go, and that while it's the individual as well. As far as in key usage, it's pretty simple. In fact, Gohan, who was not a master really himself, even though he had an extraordinary high battle power with being SSJ2 at the time, he was able to teach Videl, and he's definitely no martial arts master at that time. So there you go. And Tien was also teaching a bunch of regular monks how to unlock and utilize the basics of ki. So now, as far as effectiveness goes, this is rough because there's a there's a few different ways to look at it. Effectiveness. Hockey's versatility is massively effective in a lot of different ways. In just regular life as well as in combat. For example, if you're able to utilize armaments hockey effectively, good luck getting hurt. Right? Also, it enhances your blows significantly. And if you're a master, that's not much drain of usage. Observation hockey is the same thing. You can be able to react all kind of ways, even without being seen. So you're less prone to take attacks and such, and less prone to get caught off guard. Now, when it comes to ki, we've seen it be able to destroy planets and far beyond that. Right. So that's the level of destructive capacity and such is immense. But then again, with hockey, we've never really seen it pushed to that degree. With ki, we see people sometimes with extraordinary natural power. You know what I'm saying? So it's for if we're going to look at that, that's not a fair assessment. It's a different universe altogether. Even though they're superhumans, they're not. I mean, you have different full blown different races. Yeah, they're humanoid, but I mean, it's not even worth comparing. You know what I'm saying? Most races on One Piece are regular humans. They might be demi humans or different humans, but they're just regular people. You see what I'm saying? Where in Dragon Ball, you have like Frieza's race. We don't even have the definitive race. You have something like Majin Buu. You see what I'm saying? It's like it's not that fair in comparison, if that makes any sense. But as far as in ki is effective in a lot of ways. It affects mental things. For example, mind control is not as effective. It affects amplification of power. It affects amplification of durability. It affects all stats. There's also something called ki control, to where you can amp it up as well as suppress it down. You can control your hit. So there's a lot of that as well. This is coming down to the verdict. What would I rather have? Because effectiveness, it's like splitting hairs because they do so much different things. They're so different, and this is what makes it hard. Which would I rather have, and which would I rather not? I would honestly rather go with hockey. Here's why. Key's very close. Key's very close. Key's awesome. Here's why. With me for hockey, if I'm thinking as someone as a regular dude, okay, not thinking Dragon Ball, not thinking One Piece, where you got a dude who's magma, a dude who's light, people who can turn into animals, a rubber man, all right, in the case of One Piece. And in the case of Dragon Ball, you got freaking superhuman aliens, all right, demons and such. When I would look at it as a regular fighter, okay, hockey, observation hockey would allow me, if I were to be in a fight, to read the intent of somebody to be able to predict something better. You know what I'm saying? To be able to see things coming from all kinds of directions. Hell, I could close my eyes and like Luffy and even see the attacks coming from him before I got to the point of Katakuri, see the future attacks, which would be insanity. Armaments Haki would be able to, use like Luffy, different parts of my body just casually be able to deflect that kind of stuff. And if it was Conqueror's Haki, I would be able to affect the willpower of my opponent. See what I'm saying? That would be very useful. As far as in Ki would be great. It would be able to enhance my natural abilities, enhance my natural defense. But as a regular person, excuse me, I don't think I would be able to do any crazy kias to just push people away so effectively. I wouldn't be able to apply. I can't, produce large amounts of energy to be able to just blow something up. So it would not be as effective in a more realistic sense. And so the effectiveness in an actual fight, I have to give it more to Haki because its versatility again comes back to affect his effectiveness. If you're able to become high level with Ki, yeah, then it's more effective. And you could say, well, it's ease of use of mastery. Sure. Initially, I put that point in with Ki, it's ease of use of mastery initially. But to get to that high level, we only see that from a few types of folks. And all of them are known as prodigies, or they come from phenomenal bloodlines and lineages. With Haki, we have regular dudes on the come up, literally regular dudes. And you can apply Haki to weapons, which, if you know fighting, that's vital. Unexpected one to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me your thoughts on this. These are difficult videos y'all asking me to do, man. You're asking me to split hairs on these videos, dog. All right, y'all. Have a beautiful day, beautiful night. Peace. Tell me your thoughts. I really want to hear what you have to say, and any other video suggestions. I would absolutely love it. Y'all got me racking my brains on this.